Ladies and gentlemen, you're not lost. You're just listening to the wrong voices. That's the brutal truth most people don't want to admit. It's easy to sit around and think you're confused or stuck or lacking direction, but the real issue isn't that you don't have a purpose. It's that your perception is jammed by too much noise. And when I say noise, I'm talking about the constant commentary from parents who mean well but project fear, from friends who are just as lost as you are but louder, from a culture that defines value by likes, status, and comparison. You've got voices in your head that sound like wisdom, but they're really just old echoes of insecurity, tradition, and pressure. That's not clarity, that's chaos with a filter on it. When you start chasing what looks good instead of what feels right in your soul, you end up building someone else's life. You end up in a job you hate with a version of success that makes you feel fake. You start thinking that if you just follow this 10-step plan or this influencer's formula, you'll arrive at purpose, but God's purpose for your life doesn't come pre-packaged. It's not trending on Instagram. It doesn't scream at you. It whispers, and if you've got too many voices in your ears, you're never going to hear it. That's the real issue here. Purpose isn't hiding from you. You just haven't created the silence required to recognize it. Most people spend all day reacting, scrolling, comparing, chasing approval, when what they need is stillness. They're too busy performing for the world to actually reflect on who they were created to be. If you really want to discover God's purpose for your life, you've got to mute the world long enough to hear your own spirit, and more importantly, his voice. This isn't some abstract spiritual concept. It's real, it's practical. You need to audit your input. Who are you listening to daily? Whose opinion makes you hesitate? Why do you second? Guess your instincts every time you try to do something that actually excites you. That hesitation, that doubt, that's often not God telling you to stop at someone else's fear, shame, or expectation disguising itself as wisdom, and you've given it a seat at the table. Here's the truth: you don't need another opinion. You need obedience. The path is there, the next step is there, the inner tug you feel, that's divine, but you've got to create an environment where that tug becomes a conversation, and eventually a calling. The moment you unplug from the noise and start listening for the still, small voice of God in your life, that's when purpose starts to move from concept to clarity. You're not lost. You're just overdue for silence. Purpose isn't some magical moment where the clouds part, a light shines down, and a booming voice tells you exactly what to do with your life. That's a fantasy. The real story, purpose, is built through daily decisions. It's not about one big aha moment. It's about showing up when no one's watching, doing the hard things consistently, and staying honest with yourself. If you're waiting for your purpose to be delivered like a package on your doorstep, you're already behind. God doesn't hand out purpose like a lottery ticket. He develops it through process, through obedience, through your daily grind. People think they'll stumble into purpose once they land their dream job or find the perfect relationship or move to that ideal city. But that's backwards. Purpose doesn't follow success. It creates it. You don't wait until everything feels perfect. You move now with what you've got. If you're sitting around waiting for the right season to start acting, you're going to miss the entire point. The right time is always now, not because you have all the answers, but because movement creates clarity. When you start taking steps in faith, imperfect, awkward, messy steps, God starts shaping your path. But he won't move if you don't. People underestimate the power of small obedience, waking up early when you don't feel like it, making that call, forgiving that person, reading that one chapter, taking care of your body. Those things look small, but they're huge in the spirit, because each one aligns you with who you're becoming, and that's where purpose lives, not in the spotlight, in the shadows, not in the breakthrough. In the build-up, everyone wants to be used by God, but very few are willing to be prepared by him, and let's be honest, discipline is not sexy, consistency is not glamorous, but that's exactly where purpose is built. You think purpose comes from passion. It doesn't. It comes from pain, patience, and persistence. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel like you're doing something significant. but God sees what you're doing when no one else claps. And he honors it. That's why this whole thing is a daily commitment, not a weekend retreat, not a one-time prayer. Every day you wake up and say, I'm showing up again, even when it doesn't make sense yet. And the wild part? Over time, those daily acts of obedience begin to form a picture. You look back and realize, wait a minute, I've been walking in purpose all along. That clarity didn't come from overthinking, it came from movement. It came from trust. Purpose is not found in some massive once, in a lifetime discovery. It's revealed piece by piece as you choose to walk in faith every single day. Purpose isn't discovered, it's proven through your habits, your heart, and your hustle. Faith is your GPS, but you still have to drive. That's the part most people don't want to hear. They want divine direction to come with comfort. They want God to do the navigating and the steering, but that's not how it works. God will guide you, but he's not going to live your life for you. You've got to turn the key, press the pedal, and move. Even when the road looks foggy, that's faith. Not knowing exactly how it's all going to turn out, but trusting that if you keep moving, he's got the route covered. A GPS doesn't give you every single turn up front. It gives you the next turn, one at a time. That's exactly how God works. Most of us get stuck because we're waiting for the full blueprint, but what God often gives is just the next instruction. Take that job, forgive that person, start that project, end that toxic relationship. One move, and we hesitate because it doesn't feel like enough. We want the whole plan. But God doesn't operate like that, because if he gave us the whole thing, we'd either be too scared to move or too arrogant to rely on him. So he gives us the next step and waits to see if we'll trust him enough to take it. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It doesn't mean sitting on your couch hoping for a miracle. It means working like it depends on you while believing like it depends on him. If you really believe God has a purpose for your life, then prove it. Move, act, start, apply, speak, build. There's no such thing as waiting on God. If you're not moving your feet, you want confirmation. Sometimes it only comes after commitment. You've got to show him you're serious, that you trust him enough to take risks without needing the safety net of certainty. Too many people spiritualize laziness. They say they're waiting for a sign, but really they're avoiding responsibility. God isn't looking for people who wait perfectly. He's looking for people who move faithfully. You don't have to know how it ends. You just have to trust who sent you. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs in life don't come from having more information. They come from having more obedience, more courage, more willingness to take action before you feel ready. And yes, you'll mess up. You'll take wrong turns. That's okay. That's how you learn. The GPS doesn't shut off just because you missed a turn. It recalculates. God does the same. He'll work with your mistakes if you're willing to keep going. He honors movement, not perfection. So stop waiting for a lightning bolt and start taking the next faithful step. He's already spoken. You just have to trust the direction. And drive. Pain is not punishment. That's one of the most important truths you need to hear when you're on the journey of discovering your purpose. We've been conditioned to associate discomfort with failure and struggle with some sort of divine rejection. But that mindset is completely backwards. The pain you're going through isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build you. God isn't out to destroy you. He's preparing you. Pain is the process, not the penalty. Think about anything in life that's worth having. Muscle, character, wisdom, peace. It all comes through some kind of pressure. No one gets stronger without resistance. No gold gets refined without fire. And no calling is clarified without some kind of crushing. So when you go through something difficult, loss, heartbreak, failure, confusion, it doesn't mean you've missed your purpose. It usually means you're right in the middle of it. God doesn't waste pain. He uses it to expose what's fake, strengthen what's real, and elevate you to where you actually belong. You see, most people want the platform, the influence, the clarity, but they don't want the refining that comes before it. They want to skip the struggle and get straight to the spotlight. But if you bypass the process, you'll never be strong enough to carry the weight of your purpose. You'll crumble under pressure, and your character won't be able to support your calling. The hard truth is this: the most purposeful people you'll ever meet are the ones who have walked through the deepest pain and didn't give up in the middle of it. And here's where most people get stuck. They keep asking, why is this happening to me? That question will leave you stuck in victim mode. It drains your energy and keeps you spinning. The better question is, what now? What can I learn here? What can I build from this? Who can I help because of this? That shift in mindset turns pain into fuel. It doesn't take the sting away, but it gives it meaning. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about understanding that pain has purpose when it's placed in God's hands. He will use your wounds to open doors. He'll use your failures to give you wisdom. He'll take the things that were meant to break you and use them as bricks for your future. That's how he works, so don't despise the struggle, don't rush the process, don't tap out when things get uncomfortable. Every painful moment, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer, it's shaping you. It's humbling you, it's strengthening your roots so that when your purpose starts to bloom, you don't just rise, you last. Pain isn't a sign that God has forgotten you. It's often the very evidence that He's preparing you for something bigger than you imagined. Stop copying, start connecting. That's the unlock to discovering your real purpose. Because the more you try to imitate someone else's journey, the more you disconnect from your own. You weren't created to be a duplicate. You were designed with specific wiring, gifts, weaknesses, instincts, and perspective. But if you spend your life chasing someone else's voice, style, or story, you'll slowly suffocate the very thing that makes your calling unique. It starts early. You see someone thriving. Maybe they've got the job, the influence, the God told me to do this story. And you start thinking, maybe I'm supposed to do that too. You're drawn to their confidence, their clarity. And without even realizing it, you start adjusting who you are to fit a mold that wasn't built for you. You tweak your voice, you mirror their strategy, you mimic their energy, you start trading authenticity for applause. And slowly, you lose connection to your source, God, your intuition, your unique design. Copying isn't strategy, it's spiritual drift. You can't discover your purpose if you're obsessed with someone else's calling. That's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a crowd. You were never meant to be loud in someone else's lane. You were called to be faithful in yours, and the only way to find that lane is to connect. To God, to silence, to the core of who you really are when no one's watching. That kind of connection requires courage. It means being honest enough to ask yourself, what actually stirs my soul? What has God been nudging me to do that I've been afraid to start? Connection requires confrontation. You've got to confront the fact that part of why you've been avoiding your own path is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being misunderstood. And because of that fear, it feels safer to ride someone else's wave. But safety never produces purpose. You were wired for risk, holy risk, the kind of risk that says, even if no one gets it yet, I'm going to move with what God put in me, because that's what connection looks like. Not seeking validation first, but trusting the inner witness. And when you start connecting, truly connecting, you begin to realize you've had what you needed all along. The clarity, the insight, the fire, it's all been there, buried under layers of imitation. It's not that God hasn't spoken, it's that you haven't been listening, or worse, you've been tuning into someone else's frequency while ignoring your own. So take the pressure off. You don't have to sound like them. You don't have to move like them, you don't have to become them, you just have to become more of you, because that version, the honest, raw, fully connected version, is the one God had in mind when He designed your purpose. And that version, that's the one the world actually needs. Alignment beats achievement every single time. That's not just a motivational line, it's a spiritual principle. In today's world, everyone is obsessed with achieving. Achieve the next level, achieve the next goal, achieve the dream house, the six-figure salary, the perfect relationship, the recognition. It's constant, and while there's nothing wrong with achieving things, it becomes a problem when you start measuring your purpose by your accomplishments. That's when achievement becomes a distraction, not a destination. Here's the truth. You can be crushing goals, stacking trophies, and still feel completely empty inside. Why? Because if what you're doing isn't aligned with who you were created to be, it will drain you, not fulfill you. Alignment is about moving in sync with your design. It's about saying yes to the things that match your values, your calling, and your identity. It's not about doing more, it's about doing right. That's what real purpose feels like. Not constant hustle, but deep internal peace. You were never meant to live for applause. You were built to live in alignment. And alignment means sometimes walking away from good opportunities because they're not God opportunities. It means making decisions that don't make sense to other people but feel right in your spirit. It means choosing long-term obedience over short-term approval. And let's be real, alignment will cost you. It might cost you popularity. It might cost you comfort. It might even cost you some achievements that would have impressed a lot of people. But what you gain is worth more: clarity, conviction, and peace that you're on the right path. Even if it's slower, quieter, or less glamorous. Achievement says, look what I've done. Alignment says, look who I'm becoming. That's the difference. The world rewards output, but God honors obedience, and sometimes the most obedient thing you can do is pause. Check your motives, recenter your focus, ask yourself, is what I'm building actually what I'm called to build? Or am I just running on autopilot trying to stay relevant? That kind of self-awareness isn't easy, but it's necessary. Too many people burn out not because they're weak, but because they're misaligned. They're doing too much of what looks successful and too little of what actually fulfills them. They're performing instead of flowing, and they wonder why life feels heavy, even when it looks good on paper. So here's the call: slow down, stop chasing a highlight reel, start tuning into that internal voice that says, this is right, this is me, this is what I'm made for. Because when your life is in alignment, your mind, your habits, your relationships, your work, you don't have to force momentum, it just happens. You move with clarity, you operate from rest. And that's when you step into purpose, not just productivity. Don't live to be impressive, live to be aligned. That's where purpose lives, that's where peace waits. So here's the real, raw bottom line. Discovering God's purpose for your life isn't about finding some perfectly laid out map or having all the answers lined up in a neat little row. It's about tuning out the noise, showing up daily, moving with faith, enduring the pain, staying authentic, and choosing alignment over applause. Every single time. It's not a one-time event, it's a lifestyle. A commitment, a decision to walk even when the path is foggy, to trust even when it hurts, and to keep building even when it's silent. You've got to stop waiting for certainty and start moving with conviction. Stop chasing someone else's vision and start stewarding your own. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not forgotten, you're being prepared. And everything you've walked through, every failure, delay, detour, and heartbreak, has been shaping you for something greater than you can see right now. God doesn't waste anything, so if you feel like you're in the middle of the unknown, good. That's exactly where purpose begins. It's not revealed all at once. It unfolds through movement, trust, and obedience. You've already got what it takes. You just need to stop doubting the voice that put it in you in the first place. Now go, not because it's easy, not because you're certain, but because deep down you know this is bigger than you. Move with faith, move with fire, and remember, your purpose isn't waiting for you out there somewhere. It's already inside you, waiting to be unleashed.